All right. Good morning, everybody. Early morning crypto talk. Bitcoin Brandon here from Los Angeles, California. It's Friday. I know you guys are excited for that. End of the week. Let's see who we have on so far. We've got Bethany Gibbs. Good morning, Bethany. Wisdom. Bill Childers. Bouger. Chuck Dell. Anthony Pinkston. Mafoose. Brad Thede. Paul Andrews. Denver Dave. My big cousin, Lisa Sherrill. Good morning. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be dispensing financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share suggestions, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to head on. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space. Rule number 1, education is key. Education's everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get your return on investment back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What vehicle are you using to make it happen in? Take action and remain focused. Do not get distracted. There's so many things out there that can distract you. You have limited resources. Now, this isn't going to guarantee your success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that's the most that we can ask for. So good morning on a Friday. Interesting things happened. I actually bet wrong yesterday. And what do I mean by that? Well, news with the SEC shutting down the Winklevoss twins on their bid for the ETF. The market started to make a little correction and lost like $11 billion in a couple of hours. So I was betting that it was going to go down further because it dropped down to at least about 7,700. And what ended up happening is it rebounded and came right back up to 8,200. So I lost on that one. I still think there's going to be a market correction before the summer is out. But the fact that it was able to bounce back from that, signifies a strong base, a strong foundation. The bulls are not finished yet. This might run up to $9,000 before the market correction takes place. So we will see. Chuck, you're smart. You bought it at 7,900. Yeah, I was thinking it was going to start going down further, maybe 74, 7,500, and it turned it right around. So I'll read that article real quick because it just came out, and let me put this link in the chat box. And my computer is moving very, very slow today. Let's see. While that's doing that, good morning, Tatiana, Richard C., Shadari, Richard King, Amare, Angela Payne, Aurelia, all right, that's the link from CCN. The Bitcoin price leaps to $8,200 as bulls fight off ETF-induced slump. Sorry, bears, but it looks like the party's over. Bullish traders on Friday pushed the Bitcoin price back above the $8,000 mark, reversing a Thursday evening plunge that occurred in the immediate aftermath of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's announcement that it had denied the Winklevoss twins' Bitcoin ETF application for the second time. That news sent the markets reversing a Thursday opening plunge that occurred in the immediate aftermath of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's announcement that it had denied the Winklevoss twins' Bitcoin ETF application for the second time. That news sent the markets into a tailspin as many analysts took it as an omen that the SEC is unlikely to approve any of the manifold cryptocurrency ETF applications. See, analysts, the Bitcoin price ultimately dipped as low as $7,815 on Friday morning, at which point the bulls began to find their footing. The key struggle occurred at approximately 15:02 hours, when Bitcoin's 1-minute candle fluctuated just $2 between 7,876 and 7,878. The bulls won the battle, opening the floodgates for a several $100 rally. The Bitcoin price had punched past $8,100 and had ultimately risen as high as $8,216 by the time of writing. Bolstered by this pump, Bitcoin could once again test its 2-month high of 85.02, which it achieved earlier this week on Tuesday. So right now, it's at 8,148, and almost the entire market is pointed down in the red. So we'll see what happens. Kind of remaining flat. All right, let's go with international news, geopolitics. Beginning with Venezuela. Bolivar anchored to the petro to be issued in August, President Maduro says. Now, problem I have is that he originally had the petro anchored to their oil because the Bolivar is worthless. Worthless. I think the inflation is almost at $1 million. A million percent inflation. So why are you attaching it to the Bolivar? A new Venezuelan fiat currency anchored to the nation's crypto, the petro. So this is a new currency? I thought the Bolivar was already in place. Is expected to start circulating in the second half of August. The news was announced by President Maduro himself, along with other measures intended to improve the economic situation in the country. The sovereign Bolivar will have less zeros than the inflated strong Bolivar. Okay, so I understand now. So the national currency up to this point has been the strong Bolivar. And then they brought in the petro, which is their own digital coin, backed by oil. And now they're creating a new currency, fiat currency, called the sovereign Bolivar. All right? And they're pegging that to the petro. So pegged to the petro, Bolivar Soberano said to bring hope to Venezuela. Bolivar Soberano, which is the sovereign Bolivar, The new Venezuelan currency, claimed to be anchored to the national cryptocurrency, the petro, will start circulating on August 20th, President Maduro announced on state TV. The sovereign bolivar will have 5 zeros less than the current highly inflated strong bolivar, or bolivar fuerte. Doesn't that mean dead? Death? Fuerte? Which replaced the original Venezuelan bolivar about a decade ago. As for the oil-backed El Petro, Nicolas Maduro promised that the state-issued crypto will end up being consolidated technologically and financially to permeate all the national and international economic activity. The economic reconversion will start on August 20th definitively with the circulation and issuance of the new sovereign bolivar, the new monetary cone that is going to have a new method of anchoring the petro, said the Venezuelan head of state, as quoted by the Telesur television network. The measure, President Maduro added, will serve to stabilize change the monetary and financial life of the country in a radical manner. Yeah, I was right. Mafus Muerte is dead, so they call it the dead money. Bolivar Fuerte. Maduro went on to emphasize that a productive, diversified, and sustainable economic model must definitely be born. Now, the South American country, which has experienced hyperinflation and struggled with deep economic woes for years, the socialist leaders stressed that the reconversion and the anchoring to the petro represent a great hope. No details have been revealed on the exact mechanism of the link to the Venezuelan cryptocurrency. He says, I ask for your confidence. I ask for your support. Beyond ideologies and political positions, because Venezuela needs this change, the mafias are over, said the leftist Venezuelan president, who also announced other measures aimed at improving the country's suffering economy. Among them, a new decree assigned the Ayacucho 2 block over 29 billion barrels of oil to Venezuela's central bank to bolster its reserves, and legal amendments concerning crimes related to foreign exchange. We have the correct vision of what the economic future in Venezuela should be. Above all, we will achieve it, Maduro said. All right, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be watching this one closely. See how this lasts. All right, other international news. Let's see, where's that article? It's coming from China. And I'll put this link here. China leads the way in government blockchain adoption as Zhonggang signs MOU with Consensus. Interesting. Countries like this, they don't like crypto. They're banning it everywhere. Yet, at the same time, the government is racing to adopt blockchain technology. They're in that bunch that's for blockchain. Sorry, someone blowing me up. They're for blockchain, but against crypto. And you got countries like that. Russia's kind of like that. Iran definitely. China definitely. They don't want their citizens to be able to use the crypto to be independent of them. But the government wants to use crypto to be independent of the United States and the US dollar. Hypocrisy, right? Let's see what China's doing here. The Chinese city of Zhonggang is set to become the site of a groundbreaking blockchain deployment program, the first of its kind anywhere in the world. According to the South China Morning Post report on July 23rd, the new blockchain development and deployment scheme is the product of a new partnership between Zhonggang and global blockchain development company Consensus. Zhonggang has long held little significance in a country with several imposing urban centers like Shanghai and Beijing. Under a new policy led by Chinese President Xi Jinping, However, the area is set to transform itself into an ultra-modern metropolis under an ambitious new Dream City project. The Chinese government describes the Dream City as central to its urban strategy for the new millennium, and it aims to pour as much as 348 billion what? $348 billion of investment into the area over the next 10 years. Now, that's something you better pay attention to. One of the critical areas of Zhonggang government is exploring as its target's world-leading status is the ability of blockchain technology to aid and revolutionize how municipal service delivery takes place. Using the blockchain, Zhonggang hopes to drastically improve the efficiency and reliability of government operations and public services. To this end, the government signed a memorandum of understanding with Ethereum developer Consensus in Beijing on July 23, 2018. For Consensus, the partnership is another of the company's several global engagements with focus on financial services and government advisory services for public service blockchain deployment. Here's a hint this article is giving you. A company that you might want to invest in, Consensus. If you see what they're doing here. So, according to a statement from Consensus founder Joseph Lubin, quoted in the South China Morning Post, Consensus will work with the Zhonggang government to develop blockchain and software solutions. It states, as one of our first major projects in the People's Republic of China, we are excited to help define the many use cases that could benefit from the trust infrastructure enabled by Ethereum technology. The MOU marks a watershed moment for China, as it is the first time that a foreign company has been engaged to play a direct role in Zhonggang's plan to integrate its urban development with blockchain technology. Previously, space was restricted to Chinese players like Tencent, Ant Financial, and Keyhole 360, which took part in blockchain pilot programs ranging from finance to accommodation to cybersecurity. But China says yes to blockchain, no to crypto. BTC Manager reported earlier that China has adopted one of the most hostile stances on cryptocurrency by any major economy. Last year, ICOs were banned, and shortly after, cryptocurrency trading was also forbidden, leading to an exodus of several crypto exchange companies. China's ban on cryptocurrencies is so compelling that the yuan's global share of Bitcoin fiat transactions has fallen from more than 90% to below 1%. You guys realize at one point, the summer of 2017 and before that, China was leading the world in all crypto transactions. Now it dropped by 90%. Yet they're leading the world on blockchain patents and stuff. This notwithstanding, China continues to have a soft spot for the blockchain technology that underlies cryptocurrencies. BTC Manager reported in May that Chinese President Xi Jinping described the blockchain as a breakthrough technology. And when is our president going to say something like that? And you're right, Mafuz. The richest man in China, Jack Ma, says the same thing. He loves blockchain technology, but hates Bitcoin. When's our president going to be standing up talking about, yeah, let's lead the world in innovation of crypto and blockchain technology? Vladimir Putin saying it. Chinese President Xi Jinping saying it. Venezuelan President Maduro saying it. The Iranian government saying it. The Indian government saying it. The Japanese and South Korean government saying it. What's the U.S. doing? All right. Now the last article is major Bitcoin ETF rejected by SEC, but, because I covered this last night, what I found interesting was one commissioner disagrees publicly. So I'm only going to read the part that talks about the commissioner, because I already read this last night on Late Night Crypto Talk. And we saw this morning that the market has rebounded since then. So let's see. Bitcoin ETF rejected by SEC. Commissioner dissents. The SEC published its decision to deny a major Bitcoin trust the ability to list trade shares as an ETF. In a 92-page explanation, the U.S.'s primary regulator of such markets rejected a rule change at the behest of BAT's BZX exchange. The proposed exchange would have allowed Bitcoin tethered investment products. BAT's BZX finds itself in nearly the exact same position as last year when it was rejected the first time. On appeal, BAT's petition brought with it robust public commenting in hope of changing the agency's mind. And that didn't happen. But not everyone at the SEC in agreement on latest Bitcoin ETF rejection. ETFs are considered among cryptosphere cheerleaders for mainstream adoption, something like the holy grail of financial investment products. Exchange-traded funds can be listed on legacy boards such as the New York Stock Exchange in much the same way as conventional stocks. The Bitcoin variety would likely be a basket of different crypto investments, diversified and relatively low cost like mutual funds. That diversity is believed to be less risky, not to mention saving less crypto-savvy investors the trouble of picking which to purchase. And especially with regard to decentralized digital assets, the complication of holding keys, a wallet, and figuring out custody or storage is all taken care of. Retail investors are very familiar with ETFs. The SEC expanded on its reasoning, explaining how existing or newly created Bitcoin futures markets may achieve significant size, and an ETP listing exchange may be able to demonstrate in a proposed rule change that it will be able to address the risk of fraud and manipulation by sharing surveillance information with a regulated market of significant size related to Bitcoin as well as where appropriate with the spot market's underlying relevant Bitcoin derivatives. Okay, let me put that in English because that whole statement will put me to sleep. The SEC wants there to be what's called surveillance, which means they're able to track everything, KYC, know your customer, so that they can make sure there's not fraud and manipulation taking place. The problem with that is that Bitcoin and crypto is designed to be surveillance proof, decentralized, not controlled by any bank or any entity or third party. There is no surveillance. That's the entire point of it. So it's like you got to catch 22 here. So the SEC is like, you got to prove that there's surveillance. There is no surveillance in Bitcoin. So, however, not everyone at the SEC was on board with the recent decision to deny Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. By precluding approval of cryptocurrency-based ETPs for the foreseeable future, the Commission is engaging in merit regulation, Commissioner Hester M. Pierce wrote in a published dissent from her colleagues. Bitcoin is a new phenomenon, and its long-term viability is uncertain. It may succeed, it may fail. The Commission, however, is not well positioned to assess the likelihood of either outcome for Bitcoin or any other asset. Many investors have expressed an interest in gaining exposure to Bitcoin, and a subset of these investors would prefer to gain exposure without owning Bitcoin directly. Echoing sentiment among enthusiasts and crypto investors alike, the Commissioner wrote how such a product based on Bitcoin would offer investors the indirect exposure to Bitcoin through a product that trades on a regulated securities market and in a manner that eliminates some of the frictions and worries of buying and holding Bitcoin directly. Says if we were to approve the ETP at issue here, investors could choose whether to buy it or avoid it. The Commission's actions today deprives investors of this choice. I reject the role of gatekeeper of innovation. Oh, I like her. I like that statement right there. I reject the role of gatekeeper of innovation, a role very different from and indeed inconsistent with our mission of protecting investors, fostering capital formation, and facilitating fair, orderly, and efficient markets. Accordingly, I dissent, Commissioner Pierce stressed. Commissioner Pierce, you're my hero today. She is spot on with that. Yet again, the government is attempting to get in the way of innovation, be the gatekeeper of innovation, when we've got our enemies out there are speeding towards innovation. They're not stopping their citizens. China, the last article, they're about to invest $348 billion. What's the United States doing? Nothing. The opposite. I got to quote Vladimir Putin here. Can't believe I got to quote Vladimir Putin. But Vladimir Putin has it right, and here's what he said. The Stone Age didn't end due to the lack of stones. The Stone Age ended due to the introduction of better technology. He went on to say, cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology represents the newest technological age of this century. And whichever nation leads the way on innovation, they will be the next world power, superpower. Whatever nation does not will be under the thumb of those who do. Vladimir Putin said that. This freaking communist nation talking about innovation and whatnot. Again, where's the United States at? We're still trying to figure out what's a lie and what's true, what's fact and what's false. Witch hunt. Let's focus on the main thing here, things that matter. All right. With that, that is it for this morning. Maybe. I haven't done a late night crypto talk on a Friday night in a long time because I go out on Friday night sometimes. But maybe I may be back later on tonight for late night crypto talk, especially if there's any significant news today. Other than that, enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bitcoin Brandon out. God bless. Bye-bye.
Crypto Gen X.